Ambassador Susan Wright stood at the large window of the Galactic Council station, watching the stars. She had been Earth's voice in this grand gathering of alien species for 3 years now. Every day still filled her with wonder. Thousands of different beings from hundreds of worlds all working together in this massive space station. It was everything humanity had dreamed of for centuries. And yet she never forgot her most important duty. A soft chime sounded from her communication device. The council session would begin in 30 minutes. Today, a new species would join their ranks. The Dravini, a peaceful race of tall, slender beings with iridescent skin, had finally developed the necessary faster-than-light travel technology that qualified them for membership. Susan straightened her dark blue uniform and turned to her assistant. "Joe Carter, are we ready for the welcome ceremony?" she asked. Joe nodded, his expression serious. "Yes, Ambassador. And I've prepared the standard warning statement as well." "Good," Susan said. "Let's hope they take it more seriously than the others." The two humans walked through the curved hallways of the station. Other species moved aside respectfully. Despite being relative newcomers to the galactic community, humans had quickly established a reputation for being fair but firm negotiators. Inside, the Grand Council chamber, representatives from over 200 worlds sat in a vast semicircle. The room hummed with dozens of languages, all seamlessly translated through the small devices each member wore in their ear. The central platform remained empty, awaiting the Dravini delegation. Susan took her seat in the Earth section. Next to her sat the representatives from humanity's closest allies, the Meridians, a species of aquatic humanoids who had been the first to welcome Earth into the wider galaxy. Lorai, the Meridian ambassador, leaned toward Susan. "Another warning today?" she asked, her large eyes blinking slowly. "Of course," Susan replied. "It's standard procedure for all new members." "You humans and your warnings," Lorai said with a gentle clicking sound that indicated amusement. "One would think you're the most dangerous species in the galaxy, instead of one of the youngest." Susan didn't smile. "There's a reason we've survived this long." Before Lorai could respond, the chamber lights dimmed. A beam of light illuminated the central platform as 5 tall, willowy figures appeared. The Dravini had arrived. The welcome ceremony proceeded as usual. The council leader, an ancient being from one of the founding worlds, gave a speech about unity and cooperation. The Dravini representative responded with gratitude and hope. Various ambassadors offered welcome gifts and words of friendship. Finally, it was Earth's turn. Susan walked to the speaking platform. She looked at the Dravini with their hopeful expressions, then surveyed the room. Some ambassadors were already preparing to leave, having seen this routine before. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I welcome the Dravini to the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "We look forward to cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, and peaceful trade." She paused and the room grew quieter. The ambassadors who had been gathering their things stopped. "However, as is our custom, I must deliver our standard diplomatic notice to our new friends and remind our established colleagues. The people of Earth have a simple request: leave humans alone." A few dismissive chuckles echoed from the back of the chamber. Susan ignored them. "Do not attempt to invade our territories, do not interfere with our colonies, do not threaten our people. Earth seeks peace with all, but we will respond with overwhelming force to any aggression. This is not a threat, but a promise for your safety as much as ours." The Dravini looked confused, their skin shifting from blue to a concerned purple. Most of the other representatives had heard this speech before and paid little attention. Only the oldest species representatives remained completely silent, watching with ancient, knowing eyes. As Susan returned to her seat, she noticed a commotion in the section reserved for the Zalaxian Empire. The Zalaxians were one of the newer council members, a reptilian species known for their military prowess and territorial ambitions. Their lead representative, a scarred veteran named Drex, was whispering intensely to his military advisor. "They never take it seriously," Joe whispered as Susan sat down. Their mistake, she replied quietly. After the ceremony, Susan was approached by Tsar, the Zalaxian military attaché. He towered over her, his scaled skin gleaming under the station lights. "An impressive speech, Ambassador Wright," he said, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. "Though I wonder why Earth persists with such dramatic warnings when your military presence is so minimal." Susan looked up at him calmly. "We prefer to focus on peaceful exploration." "Of course," Tsar said with what passed for a smile among his kind. "Though our intelligence suggests your Europa research station is practically defenseless. Just an observation." Susan's expression didn't change. "Is there a reason you're interested in our outpost, Attaché Tsar?" "Mere professional curiosity," he replied. "Commander Jack sends his regards." After the Zalaxian left, Joe moved closer. "That felt like a threat." "It was," Susan said, watching Tsar's retreating form. "Contact Admiral Miller immediately. Tell him to increase patrols near Europa and notify the station to be ready." 3 days later, Susan was awakened by an urgent communication. She answered. Instantly, still half asleep, Admiral Frank Miller's grim face appeared on her screen. "They've done it," he said without preamble. "The Zalaxians attacked the Europa station 2 hours ago." Susan sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "Casualties?" "We're still assessing." The station managed to transmit one final message before communications were cut. "Which was?" Miller's expression darkened. "They're coming. Protocol Omega is in effect." Susan closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, all traces of the diplomat were gone. "Understood. I'll inform the Council. Activate the defense fleet. All of it." "Are you sure?" Miller asked. "Once we reveal what we've kept hidden all these years?" "They were warned," Susan said flatly. "Prepare the retribution for launch. I'll handle things here." As Miller's image disappeared, Susan stared out at the stars. Humanity had worked so hard for peace. They had buried old hatreds, unified their world, and reached for the stars with hope. But they had never forgotten how to fight. The next morning, Susan requested an emergency council session. As representatives hurriedly took their seats, rumors already spreading, she thought about Earth's long history. How many times had the strong underestimated the weak? How many empires had fallen because they pushed a seemingly docile opponent too far? The Zalaxians were about to learn what the rest of the galaxy had been told from the beginning: leave humans alone. 50 years earlier, the sky over Boston burned orange with fire and smoke. The limited nuclear exchange between rival powers had left most major cities intact, but the world forever changed. In the aftermath, as nations slowly rebuilt, world leaders gathered in the newly constructed Unity Hall in Geneva. "Never again," said President Diana Ross, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We almost destroyed ourselves. If we ever meet beings from other worlds, we must present a unified front." The agreement they signed that day created something new, a world government that existed alongside individual nations, activated only for extraterrestrial matters. They called it the Terran Union. Admiral Frank Miller remembered that day clearly. He had been just a young lieutenant then, standing guard at the ceremony. Now, as he strode through the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, that memory burned bright in his mind. "Status report," he barked as he entered the control room. Colonel Ben Hayes looked up from the main display. "Europa Station is completely dark, sir. 17 confirmed casualties before communications cut out. These Zalaxian vessels are still in Jupiter's orbit." "And the tripwire?" "Activated perfectly. We have complete data on their weapon systems, shield configurations, and communication protocols." Frank nodded grimly. "Activate the TDF, all units, all bases." For the first time since its creation, the Terran Defense Force, humanity's secret military, emerged from hiding. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive hangar doors slid open. Within the clouds of Venus, hidden stations powered up. On Mars, underground bunkers revealed ship launch bays. Within the rings of Saturn, stealth platforms became visible as they moved into attack formation. Major Kate Peterson watched as her soldiers prepared for battle inside the massive underground base in Antarctica. For 10 years, she had trained her Special Forces unit for this exact scenario. They were experts in zero-gravity combat, alien technology, and infiltration. "Listen up," she called out to her team. "The simulation is over. This is a real deployment." The 30 men and women gathered around her grew silent. Some looked excited, others nervous, but all were focused. "The Zalaxians have attacked Europa Station," Kate continued. "They've crossed the line we've drawn since first contact. Our job is to board their command vessel and capture their leadership." "They outnumber us," said Lieutenant Paul Baker. "Their tech is supposed to be decades ahead of what we publicly show." Kate smiled coldly. "That's what they think," she pressed. A button on her wrist device and a hologram appeared showing a new type of combat suit. It was sleek, black, and unlike anything publicly known to exist on Earth. "Meet the Spectre Mark 7th. Adaptive camouflage, enhanced strength, built-in weapon systems, and partial phase-shifting capability." Her soldiers stared in amazement. "We've been reverse engineering alien tech since the Roswell crash in 1947, Kate explained. "Everything we've shown the galaxy is decades behind what we actually have." Across Earth, similar revelations were happening in military bases as the TDF activated. Weapons that bent gravity, shields that could withstand direct hits from energy weapons, ships that could match or exceed the speed of any known alien vessel. Humanity had prepared for war while preaching peace. In the Oval Office, President Allen Garcia stared at the holographic display showing the Zalaxian ships near Jupiter. His military advisors waited silently for his command. "They were warned," he said quietly. "Activate Project Lazarus. Deploy the fleet." In orbit around Earth, the 5 ships known to the Galactic Council as diplomatic vessels changed. Hidden weapon systems emerged from their hulls. Their engines glowed with previously concealed power, but these were merely the visible ships. From hidden bases around the solar system, the true might of humanity emerged. 50 warships, each more advanced than anything Earth had admitted to possessing. The flagship of this armada, a massive vessel named Retribution, broke from its hiding place within the moon's dark side. Captain Greg Howard stood on its bridge watching his crew prepare for Earth's first interstellar war. "Set course for the Zalaxian homeworld," he ordered. "Maximum speed once we clear the solar system." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber, chaos reigned. Ambassador Susan Wright had just informed the assembled representatives about the Zalaxian attack on Europa. "This is an act of war against Earth," she stated firmly. "We request the Council's formal condemnation of this unprovoked aggression." The Zalaxian Ambassador Drex rose from his seat, his reptilian features twisted in disdain. "The humans exaggerate," he hissed. "Our ships merely conducted a close inspection of their research facility. Any damage was accidental." 17 humans are dead," Susan replied, her voice cold. "And we have complete sensor recordings of your military vessels firing upon an unarmed research station." The council leader called for order as representatives shouted questions and accusations. "What will Earth's response be?" asked the Meridian ambassador, concern evident in her large eyes. Susan looked directly at the Zalaxian representative. "Proportional and definitive. Your primitive ships are no match for the Zalaxian fleet," Drex sneered. "Perhaps now is the time for Earth to accept its proper place in the galactic hierarchy." Susan's expression didn't change. "We warned you. What happens next is on your heads." As she spoke, her assistant Joe quietly passed her a message pad. Susan read it and almost smiled. "Project Lazarus is activated," Joe whispered. "The sleeper AIs just went online throughout Zalaxian space." Susan nodded slightly. During Earth's peaceful exploration missions over the past decade, they had seeded hundreds of dormant artificial intelligence units throughout the galaxy. Each was programmed to awaken upon a specific command and target enemy systems. In Zalaxian space, their military communication networks suddenly failed. Defense grids went offline. Sensor arrays reported false data, and not a single Zelaxian understood why. Back on the Retribution, Captain Howard received an update from Earth Command. "The path is clear, Captain," came Admiral Miller's voice. "Show them why humanity warned the galaxy to leave us alone." Howard turned to his weapons officer. "Target the Zelaxian military shipyards on their second moon. Use the gravity lance." The officer nodded. Charging gravity lance. Target locked. Howard took a deep breath. After decades of preparation, humanity was revealing its true power. Fire. Across the galaxy, the day that would change everything had begun. The day the galaxy would learn why Earth warned everyone. Leave humans alone. The Zelaxian moon exploded in silence. Where once a military shipyard had housed hundreds of warships, there was now nothing but floating debris. Captain Greg Howard watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the gravity lance reset itself, the massive weapon cooling after its first real combat use. "Report," he ordered. His science officer, Linda Wells, studied her screens carefully. "Complete destruction of the target, sir. The gravity lance collapsed the moon's core as designed. Estimated Zelaxian losses include 47 capital ships and approximately 20,000 military personnel." Greg nodded. "Send the footage to Earth. The Council needs to see this." Across the bridge, Communications Officer Sam Rogers looked up sharply. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Zelaxian High Command. They're demanding our surrender." A short laugh escaped Greg's lips. "They still don't understand. Put them on screen." The main view screen flickered, revealing the scaled face of General Vazix, Supreme Commander of the Zelaxian forces. His yellow eyes narrowed at the sight of the human captain. "Unknown vessel," Vazix hissed. "You have committed an act of war against the Zelaxian Empire. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Greg leaned forward in his command chair. "This is Captain Gregory Howard of the Earth warship Retribution. You attacked our research station. You killed our people. We warned you to leave humans alone. This was your answer." Vazix's expression shifted slightly. "That was a minor border incident. This unprovoked destruction of a moon is your first lesson," Greg interrupted. "Here is your second." He nodded to his tactical officer, who pressed a series of commands. Throughout Zelaxian space, the previously dormant Lazarus AI network fully activated. On the view screen, Vazix suddenly looked away as alarms blared in his command center. His eyes widened in shock. "What have you done, Return?" he demanded. "Our defense grid is failing system-wide." "We've been preparing for this possibility since we first joined the galactic community," Greg explained calmly. "Every diplomatic mission, every trade delegation, every cultural exchange, they all carried small pieces of our Lazarus network. We seeded your systems with dormant AI units that have now awakened." Vazix's face contorted with rage. "Impossible. Our security protocols were designed to detect known threats," Greg finished for him. "We built ours differently." The screen went blank as the Zelaxians cut the transmission. Meanwhile, Major Kate Peterson's stealth transport approached the massive Zelaxian command ship. Her team of 30 soldiers checked their weapons one final time as they prepared to board. Their Spectre suits hummed quietly, the adaptive camouflage already making them nearly invisible. "Remember," Kate told them, "our primary objective is to capture Commander Jax. He ordered the attack on Europa, and we want him alive to stand trial. Secondary objective is to access their central military database." The transport silently attached itself to the hull of the command ship. Specialized cutting tools created an entry point, and Kate led her team inside. The Zelaxian ship was in chaos. Emergency lights flashed as crew members rushed through corridors, barely noticing the slight shimmer in the air that betrayed the presence of the human infiltrators. Using the ship schematics provided by the Lazarus AI, Kate and her team moved efficiently toward the command center. When they encountered Zelaxian security teams, their phase-shifting technology allowed them to pass through walls to avoid detection. "This is almost too easy," whispered Lieutenant Baker over their secure comm channel. "Stay focused," Kate replied. "They still outnumber us hundreds to one." In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Susan Wright watched as the representatives reacted to the footage from the Retribution. The destruction of an entire moon had shocked them into silence. The council leader, an ancient being named Vorla, turned to Susan. This level of technology was not disclosed when Earth joined the council. You have violated our transparency protocols. Susan nodded. Just as the Zalaxians violated our sovereignty by attacking our research station. One minor outpost does not justify this level of response, argued the Zalaxian ambassador Drex. It's not about the size of the target, Susan explained. It's about the principle. We warned all of you from the beginning. Leave humans alone. The Zalaxians chose to ignore that warning. The Meridian ambassador spoke up. Why did Earth hide such capabilities? We have been allies for years. Susan's expression remained neutral. Earth has a long history of conflict. When we unified and reached the stars, we hoped for peace, but we also prepared for war. It is our way. Suddenly, Susan's assistant Joe rushed into the chamber. He whispered urgently in her ear. Susan's eyes widened slightly before she regained her composure. What has happened? Demanded the council leader. Susan stood straight, addressing the entire council. Major Peterson's team has successfully captured Commander Jax from the Zalaxian flagship. He is being transported to Earth to stand trial for the Europa attack. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. No species had ever managed to infiltrate a Zalaxian command ship before. This is an outrage, shouted Drex, scales flaring with anger. The council must intervene. The council leader looked troubled. Ambassador Wright, this conflict is escalating rapidly. The council offers to mediate. With respect, Susan interrupted. This is not a council matter. Earth warned the Zalaxians. They ignored our warning. Now they face the consequences. As Susan spoke, screens around the council chamber activated automatically. The face of President Alan Garcia appeared, broadcasting from Earth. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice solemn. I speak to you, directly concerning the current conflict with the Zalaxian Empire. The chamber fell silent. For 10 years, Earth has participated peacefully in galactic affairs. We have traded, shared culture, and built friendships. But we always issued one clear warning. Leave humans alone. Garcia's expression hardened. The attack on our Europa station was an unprovoked act of aggression. 17 of our people died. We have responded as we promised we would, with overwhelming force. The president leaned forward. But know this. What you have witnessed is restrained. We could have destroyed their homeworld. Instead, we targeted military installations only. Susan watched the faces of the alien representatives. Some showed fear, others calculation, a few understanding. Earth seeks peace, Garcia concluded. But we are prepared for war. The choice now belongs to the Zalaxians. As the transmission ended, Susan faced the council once more. The question isn't why Earth hid its true capabilities, she said quietly. The question is, why didn't anyone take our warning seriously? No one had an answer. Commander Jack sat in the holding cell aboard the Retribution, his scaled hands bound by restraints he couldn't break. The human guards outside his cell stood motionless, their faces hidden behind dark visors. They hadn't spoken a single word to him since his capture. The door slid open and Captain Greg Howard entered with Major Kate Peterson beside him. Jax looked up at them with hatred in his yellow eyes. Your invasion has failed, he said. The full might of the Zalaxian Empire will crush your pathetic world. Greg didn't respond to the threat. He simply placed a small device on the table between them. It projected a hologram showing the remains of the destroyed moon and the disabled Zalaxian fleet. This conflict is already over, Greg said calmly. Your military has been neutralized. Your defensive systems are under our control. Your government is calling for emergency talks. Jack stared at the hologram in disbelief. Impossible. We are one of the strongest military powers in the Council. Kate leaned forward. You were, and yet here you sit, captured from your own command center by a species you dismissed as primitive. Why? Greg asked. Why attack a research station? You must have known we would respond. Jax's scales rippled with anger. You humans arrive in the galaxy just decades ago, yet demand respect from empires thousands of years old. Your warnings were seen as the empty posturing of a young species. We decided to teach you humility. Greg exchanged a glance with Kate. And instead, you learned about hubris. Back on Earth, the United World Council gathered in emergency session. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials filled the chamber in Geneva as President Alan Garcia briefed them on the conflict's status. The Zalaxian government has requested immediate ceasefire talks, he announced. Their entire military infrastructure has been compromised by our Lazarus network. They are effectively defenseless. Admiral Frank Miller stood up. We should press our advantage. The Zalaxians have been expanding aggressively for decades. Many council species would privately thank us for neutralizing them permanently. No, the president said firmly. We are not conquerors. We defended ourselves when attacked, but we will not destroy their civilization. They wouldn't have shown us the same mercy, Admiral Miller argued. Which is precisely why we must, Garcia replied. This isn't just about the Zalaxians. It's about showing the entire galaxy what kind of species humans truly are. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Susan Wright waited as the council debated their response to the conflict. Many representatives argued for immediate sanctions, against Earth for concealing military capabilities. Others wanted sanctions against the Zalaxians for initiating hostilities. The Meridian ambassador approached Susan during a brief recess. Why didn't you tell us, she asked, her large eyes reflecting hurt. We considered Earth a friend. It wasn't personal, Susan explained. Earth united after nearly destroying itself in war. When we reached the stars, we hoped for peace, but prepared for the worst. It's how we've survived. But such weapons, the Meridian said, gesturing at the display showing the destroyed moon. The gravity lance violates Council weapons protocols, Susan nodded. Which is why we never used it until we were attacked. Look deeper into human history, friend. We are capable of creating terrifying weapons, but we also establish rules for their use. The Council leader called the session back, to order. The Council has reached a preliminary decision. A fact-finding mission will be dispatched to investigate both the attack on the human research station and Earth's military response. Susan stood. Earth respects the Council's authority in maintaining galactic peace. However, we must be clear. This was an unprovoked attack on our sovereign territory. Our response was measured and directed solely at military targets. As she spoke, new alerts flashed across the chamber's information screens. Susan's assistant Joe quickly checked his tablet and whispered in her ear. Distinguished representatives, Susan announced. I've just been informed that a Zalaxian strike force is attempting to attack Earth directly. They launched before our confrontation but maintained communication silence. The chamber erupted in chaos. Is this true? Demanded the council leader, turning to the Zalaxian ambassador. Drex appeared genuinely shocked. I have no knowledge of such orders. It doesn't matter, Susan said. Earth was prepared for this possibility as well. On the outskirts of the solar system, 5 Zalaxian warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Their mission was simple: strike Earth while its defenses were focused on the Jupiter attack. They had expected to find an unprotected planet. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by 30 Earth vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere, emerging from hidden positions around the solar system. On board the lead Earth ship, a stealth carrier named Vigilant, Commander Lisa Rodriguez watched the Zalaxian ships on her tactical display. They've stopped, her first officer reported. They're scanning us. I think they're surprised. Lisa smiled slightly. Drop the stealth fields on the defense platforms as well. Let them see everything. Throughout the solar system, hundreds of previously invisible defense platforms became visible. The orbital defenses around Earth itself lit up, revealing weapon systems far beyond what any council species believed humans possessed. The Zalaxian ships attempted to turn around but found their engines suddenly unresponsive. The Lazarus AI has infected their systems, Lisa's tech officer confirmed. They're dead in space. Lisa opened a communication channel. Zalaxian vessels, this is Commander Rodriguez of Earth Defense. Your systems are under our control. Your weapons are disabled. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. On the main view screen, the face of a Zalaxian captain appeared, his expression one of shock and fear. How? How did you build all this without the Council knowing? We've had a lot of practice keeping secrets, Lisa replied. Earth wasn't always united. We spent centuries hiding weapons from each other. Hiding them from the galaxy was simple by comparison. In the Council chamber, the representatives watched in stunned silence as live footage showed the massive Earth defense network and the captured Zalaxian strike force. Susan faced them all. Now, perhaps you understand. Earth's warning wasn't empty, pride or baseless threat, it was mercy. We don't want war with anyone, but we are always prepared for it. The Zalaxian ambassador Drex slumped in his seat. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Justice for the 17 humans who died at Europa, reparations for the damage, and a formal acknowledgement that the Zalaxian Empire violated galactic law by attacking Earth without provocation. And then? Asked the Council leader. Susan looked around the chamber. And then we go back to being peaceful members of the galactic community. That's all we ever wanted. As Susan spoke, screens throughout the Council chamber displayed a new message from Earth. We come in peace, we prefer to stay that way. 1 month after the Zalaxian conflict, the Galactic Council gathered for a special session. The Grand Chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from every Council species attended, many bringing military advisors who had never before set foot in the diplomatic center. Ambassador Susan Wright entered the chamber last. The room fell silent as she walked to Earth's position. She noticed how other representatives watched her with new expressions: respect, caution, and in some cases, fear. The Council leader called the session to order. Today we address the formal end of hostilities between Earth and the Zalaxian Empire and discuss the wider implications for galactic security. On a raised platform in the center of the chamber, the new Zalaxian Prime Leader stood. The previous government had fallen after their military defeat. This new leader, a moderate named Kalax, appeared humbled. The Zalaxian Empire acknowledges its violation of Council law, Kalax stated formally. We attacked an Earth research station without provocation. We accept full responsibility for the 17 human deaths and all resulting damage. Kalax then turned directly to Susan. We offer our sincere apologies to the people of Earth and agree to the reparation terms. Furthermore, we commit to a 50% reduction in our military forces, with Council oversight. Susan nodded acceptance. The terms were fair, harsh enough to ensure the Zalaxians wouldn't threaten Earth again, but not so severe as to cripple their civilization. The Council leader turned to Susan next. Earth's response to the Zalaxian aggression has raised serious concerns. Your world concealed military capabilities far beyond what was declared when you joined the Council. This represents a breach of our transparency protocols. Susan stood to address the chamber. Earth acknowledges that we did not disclose the full extent of our defensive and offensive capabilities. We accept the formal censure of the Council. She paused, looking around the room. However, we maintain that our actions were justified. When Earth joined the galactic community, we hoped for peaceful cooperation, but our history taught us to prepare for the worst while working toward the best. That does not excuse deception, said the representative from the Voloth Confederacy, a longtime rival of the Zalaxians. Perhaps not, Susan conceded. But consider this. If we had revealed everything from the beginning, would it have led to greater peace? Or would some have seen our capabilities as a threat to be neutralized before we could use them? Uncomfortable murmurs spread through the chamber. Everyone knew the history of the galaxy included preemptive wars against rising powers. The Meridian ambassador spoke next. Earth's warning makes more sense now. But why issue it so openly? Why not simply keep your strength hidden without drawing attention to it? Susan smiled slightly. because humans prefer to avoid conflict when possible. The warning was our attempt to prevent exactly what happened. If the Zalaxians had heeded it, no lives would have been lost. The council leader called for order as the discussion grew heated. What matters now is moving forward. Earth has demonstrated power that changes the balance in our region of the galaxy. The council must adapt to this new reality. Susan nodded. Agreement. Earth remains committed to the principles of the council. We seek peace, trade, and cultural exchange. All we ask is the respect of our sovereignty. As the formal session concluded, Susan was approached by the eldest member of the council, Ambassador Khan of the Arctarians. The ancient being moved slowly, supported by a hovering mobility device. "A moment of your time, Ambassador Wright," Khan requested, voice quiet but clear. Susan respectfully followed Khan to a private alcove overlooking the stars. "Your people hide more than weapons," the elder said without preamble. Susan kept her expression neutral. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Yes, you do." Khan's four eyes blinked in sequence. "My species has records going back 17,000 years. We remember the first time we encountered beings like humans." Susan felt a chill but remained silent. "The harvesters," Khan continued. "They came to our region of space when my ancestors were just beginning to explore beyond their home system. Aggressive predators who saw other sentient species as resources to be consumed or enslaved. That sounds nothing like humanity," Susan protested. "No? Yet when I look at how quickly your people adapted alien technology, how efficiently you prepared hidden defenses, how thoroughly you seeded your AI throughout Zalaxian space," Khan paused. "These are not the actions of newcomers to interstellar conflict." Susan chose her next words carefully. "Earth's official history is accurate as far as it goes. We developed spaceflight independently and achieved faster than light travel just 15 years ago." "Official history," Khan repeated. "And the unofficial version?" Susan looked out at the stars. "Some questions are better left unasked, Ambassador. On Earth, President Alan Garcia met with Admiral Frank Miller in the secure underground room beneath the White House. No recordings were permitted here, and even the highest security clearances did not grant access without direct presidential approval. "The Council has accepted our official statement," Garcia said. "The censure is minor and expected." Miller nodded. "And our other concerns?" "The Arctarians suspect something, but they have no proof. Their records of the harvesters are fragmentary, at best." The Admiral moved to a wall panel and pressed his palm against it. The wall slid away, revealing a sealed vault door. After both men completed the biometric verification, the heavy door swung open. Inside lay a single artifact, a twisted piece of metal with strange symbols etched into its surface. It had been found in the Antarctic ice 70 years earlier, along with the remains of a crashed ship and its non-human crew. "Sometimes I wonder," Garcia said quietly, "what might have happened if they had succeeded in their invasion back then, if humanity hadn't captured their ship and reverse-engineered their technology." Miller's expression darkened. "We'd be extinct, or worse. The harvesters didn't leave survivors on the worlds they conquered. And now? Our scouts report no sign of their activity in nearby sectors. Either they've moved to a different region of the galaxy, or the species we encountered 50 years ago near Alpha Centauri were the last of them," Garcia finished. The two men stared at the artifact in silence. Earth's first contact hadn't been with the friendly Meridians 10 years ago. It had been with the harvesters, who had attempted a silent invasion before humanity had even reached Mars. The subsequent Shadow War had been hidden from Earth's population. The captured technology had accelerated human development by centuries, and when the last harvester vessel had been destroyed, humanity had made a decision. They would join the galactic community, but they would never, ever be vulnerable. "Kirndauer, you think the warning will be enough now?" Miller asked. Garcia nodded. "I believe so. The galaxy has seen what happens when someone ignores it." As they secured the vault once more, Garcia added, "Humanity wants peace. We've seen enough war, but if threatened again..." Miller completed the thought. They'll learn once more why Earth warns everyone. Leave humans alone.